Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be doing part 2 of a video that I did not that long ago called rating popular TikTok books. Is it worth the hype? And I decided to do a part 2 because I have a lot of books I would like to talk about. It doesn't really take much motivation for me to start reading a book that I've been seeing circulating around the internet. So I wanted to be the judge of that and let you guys know if it's worth the hype. Should you purchase it? Should you read it? And all that. So I'll be giving a quick review without spoilers and I'll be giving you my rating for these books. For some of these books, I did do either a reading vlog or a whole in-depth review, which I will mention it and leave the link below if you're interested in watching them and would like to know more information. So I'm super excited. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first book for today is Verity by Colleen Hoover, and this was actually a book that I remember being kind of scared to read for some reason. I think it's just because I've been reading purely romance for a long time now, and I was told that this was a thriller, so I was kind of nervous, but I was like, I'm still intrigued by it because I still only heard good things about it. So pretty much this is about Verity, who is a famous author, and she recently got into an accident, and so she can't finish the next few books in the series that she's made and that fans love. So her husband hired a writer to complete the series, and that writer's name is Lowen. Because Verity has been in the accident, she can't speak and tell her the direction that she wants the series to go to. So she was invited to Verity and her husband Jeremy's house, and Lowen was gonna go look through all of like the notes and manuscripts that she has so she can know where the story is supposed to head and what to do next with the series. In doing so, Lowen finds a manuscript of a different book, an autobiography, where Verity spills like deep dark secrets about Verity and Jeremy's family, and Lowen is kind of like, do I tell Jeremy this or do I keep my mouth shut? Is this my business? It's very interesting seeing all the secrets that happened in this family, all the messed up things that happened in this book. And of course, Lowen starts to fall in love with Jeremy. They have some feelings going on there. So that's like in another part of this book. It also has like a bonus chapter that I read online as well. You get to see like an extended epilogue pretty much, which shook me. If you want, I made a reading vlog of this where I go more in depth with my thoughts, and I also have a spoiler section so we can have like a discussion if you would like to. But this book was really good to me. I rated it a 4 stars. The only thing that I feel like it knocked off a few points was because I didn't feel like I got to know Lowen very well. But other than that, it was very messed up. And I don't know, this was like the first book, like I said, that was a thriller beyond a romance. And I don't know, I guess it was refreshing to read something where it wasn't about like, in some romances, they're like, oh, I want a relationship like that. I want a man like that. I don't want a relationship like that. And I don't want a man like that. So it was very like nice and refreshing. And because it was supposed to be messed up, I feel like I enjoyed it more. I feel like it is somewhat worth the hype just because I really enjoyed it and I finished it pretty quickly. It was just something different. So after reading Verity, I was really eager to keep reading and I wanted to find a book to read pretty quickly. Before Verity, I read It Starts With Us and It Ends With Us, and I liked those books and I liked Verity, so I was ready to continue reading Colleen Hoover books. So the next one I picked up was Ugly Love. Like, it was very impulsive. Like, the day after I finished Verity, I just went to the store and bought this one without really knowing much about it. But pretty much this is about a girl named Tate and a guy named Miles. They pretty much get into a friends with benefits situation, and from the beginning Miles is telling Tate, don't ask about my past and don't expect a future, and she's all for it. She's like, okay, fine. You know, of course, over time Tate starts getting feelings and she wants Miles to open up and she would like a future with him, and so we kind of follow that story. Also, Tate's brother and Miles are both pilots, so they work together and they're in the same pilot program, I guess. He's also very protective of Tate, so she doesn't want him to know about their like friends with benefits situation. This book though, I will say I was very disappointed in. I kind of just feel like Colleen Hoover goes through a pattern with her stories, which if you're interested in me explaining more about it, you can watch this video where I talk a little bit more about that. But I felt like I read this book already. I felt like it was very predictable, and so I didn't really enjoy it that much. And also I felt like Tate was I don't know, she started off with like the same energy of like, I don't take crap from anybody, and then in the next chapter or two she's like on her knees desperate for this guy, even though she knows it's wrong and like she shouldn't keep this friends and benefits thing going. She still does it, and like I guess like the whole point is to maybe show that she's not perfect and no character is perfect and love is hard, like ugly love, right? I get it, but I don't know, it just was weird to me. I didn't really enjoy her character at all, and I didn't really care for their love story at all. I will say though, I did rate it a 3 stars just because I was pretty eager to finish the book, even though I wasn't like super duper in love with it. But I don't know, I just felt like it was like missing a lot, and I just didn't really like the plot of the story. But the next 2 books that I have very strong feelings for, so let's move on to the next book. The next book is People We Meet on Vacation. So I recently went on a cruise and I brought this book with me. I only read the first page, thankfully, so I didn't really get into it at the time, but I wanted the vibes. You know, I was like, I'm on vacation, let me read a vacation book. When I got back, I bought already some other books that I was more interested in, but I felt like I needed to get through this one first. So I started reading this, and yo, let me just give you the synopsis before I tell my opinion. So pretty much it's about these 2 best friends, Poppy and Alex, and they met in college, and they have been going on like a summer vacation every year since college, and now they're like 30. For whatever reason, they haven't been going on vacations for the past 2 years, and they keep hinting at something terrible that happened 2 years prior. Poppy is starting to really miss Alex, so she sets up this whole thing for them to go on one last vacation together and hopefully rekindle their friendship. And so we pretty much go back and forth between vacations throughout the years and the present, and eventually of course we learn what happened 2 years ago that made them stop being friends. This book has 361 pages, and you guys, each page was kind of torture. I did not like this book at all. I was struggling. I was fighting for my life to finish this book. It was so difficult and boring. Like every time we went back and forth between the past and the present, I would forget where we are in the present. I felt like the past stories just dragged on and kind of were useless. I felt like it was so wordy, too much telling, not enough showing. And in the story, the guy was supposed to be more reserved and the girl was supposed to be more extroverted, silly, funny. And I thought she was just straight up annoying. Like I didn't like her at all. They both have like their own, like, I guess, traumas that they know about and they confide in each other about. And hers was that she got bullied in like middle school, and I don't know, like I'm really not trying to invalidate anybody's experience, but she's not real, so I don't feel really bad about it. But I'm like, girl, you're 30 years old, come on. Like the things that she kept mentioning, I'm like, I cannot relate. Like there's been like some messed up things that happened to me in middle school, but like I cannot have that be my personality trait, like being bullied in middle school. Like I was just kind of really annoyed. And bro, when I tell you, I was so glad I finished this book. I rated it a 1 star. It's very comparable to The Unhoneymooners, which I think in my last video I rated it 2, but it deserved a 1. So yeah, I'm sorry. All right, the next book, if you are gonna read any book that I've talked about in this video, it's gonna be this one, and it's Archer's Voice. I love this book so much. I also made a reading vlog about this if you would like to watch it, and it is just so good. And I like heard people talking about it, saying you gotta read it, and like of course they've been saying about all these books, and I don't feel the same about all these books, but this one, they do not lie. And it's funny too, because I remember like roasting the cover, and I was like, this cover is like just not giving. But don't judge a book by its cover, even though I usually do. But anyways, this is about a girl named Bree who pretty much runs away and wants to start a new life in a small town that her and her family visited when she was younger. She runs into this boy named Archer who just doesn't speak, and the whole town has their own theories about why Archer can no longer speak. All we know is that it revolves around some type of accident, and Bree is just instantly infatuated with him, and she makes an effort to be his friend. Her dad was deaf, so she knows sign language, and he also knows sign language, so that's how they communicate. And it is just such a good love story, guys. Like I don't want to say too much about it just because like I don't want to take away from the things you learn about when you actually read it, but he's just like such a wholesome man. And like I have not cried as hard as I cried while reading this book in so long. I was bawling my eyes out. Even in the reading vlog, guys, I got emotional and almost cried just thinking about it because it's been a little bit since I read this. I don't feel as emotional anymore. But you know that if I were to reread this, I probably would be a mess. It was just so beautiful. Like, I, of course, gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Small town vibes, really sweet love story. Just thinking about it makes me like so happy. I just really enjoyed this book, and I feel like you enjoy this too. If you read it, leave your thoughts down below without any spoilers so we can talk about it, because like, I just, dang, this one was the one. Yeah, I don't know, there's just so many layers to this book also besides their love story, like things about his past, her past, current things going on with the town, a plot twist that I low-key saw coming but still was very shocking. I don't know, just, oh my god, let me not think about it too much. 5 stars. Read this book if you were to read any other book here. That's the one. It's also funny because I remember looking at my Notion page where I write the reviews of all the books. I said, I can't think of one good thing that I like about People We Meet on Vacation. And then for Archer's Voice, I cannot think of one bad thing. So a 1 star, a 5 star. It was really great reading a 5 star after such a bad book. All right, let's move on to the next books. The next books are actually a series, and I don't want to go too in depth because I literally made a whole review of this not too long ago, which I will link down below. So this is the Dreamland Billionaire series, and it is pretty much about these 3 brothers and their love stories in each one. And their grandfather, who recently died, he writes a letter to all the boys saying, in order to get your inheritance, which is $25 billion. I don't know if I mentioned that they're rich. $25 billion and 18% of their company. They have to complete their task. So each book follows a different brother. The first one is The Fine Print. It's about the youngest brother named Rowan, and he's tasked with renovating Dreamland, which is equivalent to Disneyland, and find what's wrong with it and fix it. And one of the workers, her name's Zara, and she is very passionate about Dreamland, and she has lots of ideas, and he thinks that she's the ticket to his inheritance. So we follow their love story. It's a grumpy sunshine, which is one of my favorite tropes. I rated this one a 3.8. It's a really thick book, and they only get thicker. I just felt kind of bored somewhere in the middle, but like while I was reading it, I enjoyed it. So the next one is Terms and Conditions, and this is about the oldest brother, and he's tasked with getting married and having a child, which is very different than the last brothers. Him and his assistant Iris go through like this process of trying to hire the perfect bride. In the beginning of the book, they have an engagement announcement with the girl that they picked, but last minute she dips out. So Iris steps into her place, and they were pretty much navigating their fake marriage. Well, it's a real marriage, but their fake relationship, and it's a really sweet story. This is my favorite one out of all of them. It's an age gap relationship. It's an interracial relationship. The girl's black, which of course I love. It's also another Grumpy and Sunshine story. Those are these 2 books, and then the last one is The Final Offer, which is about the middle brother, and he's tasked with spending 1 summer in their family lake house before selling it. And when he shows up there, he finds out that his ex-girlfriend lives there, and this ex-girlfriend, her family tended to the house when his family wasn't at the lake house, so both of their names are on the deed. She doesn't want to sell it, he wants to sell it, so they gotta navigate it. And when they broke up, he left her heartbroken, and they're trying to like build trust amongst each other again, and there's other issues going on. I rated this a 3.5 stars. It's the biggest one, but my least favorite. I don't know, I think it's mostly because the other 2 books, like the boys are grumpy and the girls are sunshine, and he's not grumpy at all, which is fine. But it's a second chance romance, which I don't know, I'm not a big fan of second chance romances because I guess they already been there, done that, so like the build up and the suspense just isn't there for me. But all 3 of these books I would say are slow burns. I do recommend it, and you get to see the same characters throughout the whole series, which I like that they didn't just like kind of forget about the others. Yeah, overall the whole series I rated a 4 stars. I think they're worth the hype, and I think that you should definitely get it if you have not read it or if you're in need of a new series, because I really enjoyed it. So the next book is Scarred, and this is a Lion King reimagining. So we are actually rooting for Scar in this story. His name's Tristan in the book, and he has the same scar, and he's known around the castle as the Scarred Prince. And his brother Michael, who's supposed to be Mufasa, is about to be king because their father recently died, and he's engaged to this girl named Sarah B, who is Sarabi in the Lion King. It's not really a love triangle type of situation. happen, but, and I guess in a way it kind of is, because Sarah B and Tristan start to get feelings for each other, but you know, she's engaged to marry the king, and he has his own plans of overthrowing the king, and she has her own reasons for also being engaged to the king and her own agenda that she's trying to complete. So pretty much follow that story, and it's very dark. If you're expecting a really nice lovey-dovey sweet fairy tale romance, don't pick up this book. This is a very dark book, very twisted. There's lots of murder, lots of stuff like that. I still enjoyed it though. Like, sometimes when I read really messed up books, I'm like, am I okay? But like, it's okay, I am. There's lots of spice in this book, so if that makes you uncomfortable, also don't read this. But I enjoyed it. The only thing is that because this is a Lion King reimagining, and Lion King is supposed to be a fairy tale based in Africa, right? It felt weird to me how in this book, Black people were treated as second-class citizens and treated very poorly, and it just felt wrong. I don't know, just really awkward and weird that like we took a story that's based in Africa and we're gonna treat like Black people like crap. But like, I'm not surprised. It just is what it is. I rated this a 3.8. Still a really good story. I would recommend it, but that little piece just kind of bothered me nonetheless. Those are all the books that I have for this video. Is BookTok, Bookstagram, BookTube, the whole thing. Are these books worth the hype? And for the most part, I think a lot of them are, but also a lot of them are not. I feel like most of the time they're just like basic 3 stars, not amazing, not terrible. I will continue to read these popular BookTok, Bookstagram, BookTube books and come and tell you guys what I truly think about them. It's very fun for me to read and I do enjoy it a lot. So if you like it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe if you are not already, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.